That was pretty low. So I just went about 3 minutes talking, and I'm not sure if that's going to be picked up on the replay. So now I've hit go live. We'll see what happens. Do I recap? I guess I'll recap. Basically what I was saying before is everything I bring to you, anyone watching this at all, any algorithm that picks this up, in an unofficial manner in regards to anything. So you see this logo LSKD, unofficial manner. You see this logo Hex, unofficial manner. If I mention anything else, in an unofficial manner. If I wear a Molan Labi hat, Infowars hat, it's in an unofficial manner. Simple as that. And the reason I point that out is because the chilling effect is real. Now, Judge Neapolitan heavily covers this. It's pretty interesting stuff. Recently, a few days ago, I think there was a tweet from Richard Hart. He also pointed this out, the chilling effect. It is the thumbnail of my this particular stream, and also I'll go over a few explanations of it, and then I'll further go on to cover why I think we're seeing mass censorship and how that ties into the chilling effect. Then I'll cover some election odds, and previously how I thought one thing meant one particular thing on a website when actually it meant something else, and that was pretty interesting to me. So I hope no one listened to that call on that particular bet, because if you don't know what you're doing, maybe you shouldn't be clicking buttons. What else? Cryptocurrency is currently dying, bleeding out. We're seeing Hex heavily related to Bitcoin and Ethereum. We're seeing basically Bitcoin shit the bed, Ethereum's going to shit the bed, and looks like Hex will shit the bed too. Maybe even Hedron. Now, it's funny because we've got the burn function kicking in soon, shortly with Hedron, and I thought maybe that would have relieved some pressure. But then again, if the underlying assets being pulled down, being drawn down, then maybe the Hedron price will be also affected in the same way. What else? What else? That is about it for now. All right. Oh yeah, warning. I did say before, if you are an extreme left or a communist, you may find this content offensive. If you don't like the noise of a high-pitched squeaking dog toy, you might get offended also, because it may happen, I'm not sure. Just a disclaimer, you know. What else? Alright, let's get into it. We're seeing JP Morgan, right? Using DeFi, which means it's using Ethereum, and I think it's a particular chain on Ethereum, and they're actually making transactions on it. Here we go. JP Morgan, one of Wall Street's biggest banks, led by outspoken Bitcoin and crypto skeptic JP Diamond. I remember back in the day, I made a pretty funny video laughing about his call about Bitcoin being trash. I made a follow-up video kind of apologizing because, you know, guy's probably kind of crazy, has a lot of money, etc. Anyway, has completed its first ever cross-border transaction using blockchain-based decentralized finance, DeFi, in what's been called a massive step for the crypto space. So we're actually seeing like the very large institutional player using DeFi, using blockchain as it's intended. So the question is, maybe they've come to the party and are realizing that it's very useful as a technology. As I mentioned before, they're realizing the blockchains, even if they're not making their own to keep track of everything, maybe if they use them to transport money, funds, value across the chain, across the blockchain, it might be beneficial to them for their business model. What else we got? Yeah, that's about it. Like, so as we're seeing crypto being crushed quietly on the side, large players are, you know, using the blockchain. we'll have a look at the actual markets just briefly for some pain. Everything's red. What do we got? I mean, Hex is just over 3 cents, which is not too bad. It's going back to its stable status. But we can see everything's pretty much correlated. Except for that, whatever that is. Shit. But yeah, we can see, this reminds me of 2017 or 16. Somewhere along the lines there. And you'd see massive pullbacks and massive pumps. But back then, I remember you would actually see what I thought I could see was Bitcoin would pump, and then it would dump, and then all the alts would pump, and then they would dump, and then you could see a sort of pattern, and you could almost visually see through the chart itself, like obviously like a lagging indicator, but you could see what was taking place. Like, but now it seems to be more bound to each other. Basically, they all move in unison. So I'm not sure what that's about. Maybe larger exchanges have got things in place and liquidity pools, and they're all sort of using Hart's law. All right, that's the crypto space. Now let's cover the odds here. So what I thought yesterday was the most seats. I thought that was the same as the Senate, right? And I was saying this is a pretty good bet, you know, Redwave. What it was though, there's a difference. I did not know that. And you have here the odds. You can see the odds are different. Redwave seems to be in place, but the actual control of the Senate, the odds aren't as favorable. Well, actually, they're better than they were. So I was looking at Senate majority. It's come down a bit. It's still looking alright though. I mean, $1.33 to $10. Also could be a draw, a 50-50, so who knows. But then I thought, let's go even deeper. I saw this Gubernations elections, and what it was, it breaks it down to the various states, you know. And the one that I thought was interesting was Arizona. So this is the one I'm going to be watching. I was kind of pissed off because it was $1.98, and then it was $1.80. Now the odds have changed to $1.14 and $5.50. Now this is pretty interesting, I think, because maybe this might indicate what could take place should things stay the same leading into the 2024 election. Now, the reason I sort of follow this is because what tends to happen in the US does affect the US, us here in Australia. So, for instance, more often than not, if there is some sort of conflict, Australia will probably get pulled in as well. You know, so that's why I sort of follow this on that front, and also from the economic front. Well, we see like the Fed basically rules the world with the IMF. Simple as that. We can see pushback on those fronts as well with BRICS and the like. But yeah, for the most part, the US dollar is not going anywhere, and yeah, I can't see any alternative to it. If anyone else can, please let me know. But for there to be an alternative, it does usually require certain factors. I think, again, I've come across this through other experts. They've pointed out that it usually does require a bond market, a credit market, very deep one with thick books, not just. So that's why the argument for Bitcoin being a replacement is pretty weak, in my opinion. That's why if you compare it to something like Hex, if it can get a bond market happening, and if it can get a credit market happening, maybe versus other cryptocurrencies, it does provide a more usable option. Maybe that is why JP Morgan are coming onto the chessboard, and we're going to see some pretty damn interesting stuff take place. Imagine once Pulse Chain comes out, if the big players are using Ethereum based Ethereum blockchain, and they're using other layers that are a bit quicker than, you know, Ethereum or cheap or whatever, and then they discover something reliable like Pulse Chain. Who knows what that could mean? Who knows? Put some hope out there, hey? Now, back to the elections, right? Them scrambled to stop Redwave. So I'm like, okay, maybe I should have placed that bet. And again, I went through my thinking process just before in regards to the overall win, the Senate majority, and the actual down to the state level. What was the name? The Gubernational elections. So that stuff's pretty damn interesting to see how that's going to play out. We'll see how much of the red wave it is. Now, so this is the article that the red link links to. So usually when Drudge covers that, he points out some things like, I'm not telling you to use this title, I'm just saying this is what I do. It does point out some sort of, not leading indicators, but some more important articles that have been portrayed to the public, you know, it's in the public view. We're seeing an emboldened GOP market closing the pitch as Democrats try to head off big losses. Big losses. Because. Before I go into the chilling effect and who has been chilled, censored, and why I sort of resonate with those people, even though I don't know them, have never spoken to them personally, I'll cover this. So we have a countdown for the results of the US elections, right? And we also have a countdown for, if I can find it, I'm looking off screen here, basically top research analysts are suggesting, anyway, paid for research suggests that, which I'm providing here for free, which I'm not selling at all, so I'm allowed to do this purely for the benefit of humanity. I hope, you know, if people just listen to me because I know everything. No, it's not like that, but you know, everyone thinks they know everything, so I'll play my part. Can Biden make things even worse? Can Brandon do it? Let's go, Brandon. Yeah. If I was in the US, which I'm not, if I was in the US, it reminds me of that speech. If I were the devil. No, so can Joe Biden make things even worse, you know? The US is running out of diesel. Now, we had a shortage here in Australia of AdBlue, which made all of the new cars inoperable without the use of heavy modification to the engines and the chips, probably, which was insane because how as a country can we let that happen? That makes no sense. But here in the US, again, not ripping on the US or anything, but just saying this could affect my bottom dollar if I was using diesel over here in Australia, because there's a shortage coming. And how could Biden make the energy situation even worse? And natural gas price skyrocketing? Yes. And so if I was in the US, I would be maybe getting prepared for that. So where was it? Again, this is just analysts warning this, so I thought maybe share it with family and friends, maybe chuck it out on the internet for everyone, but no one even knows I exist, so, you know, kind of stealthing it in. If you haven't purchased the portable generator and have fuel in storage, I recommend you do so now. Now, this is not a conspiracy theorist point of view, like Loonbird, actual Loonbird, or like schizophrenic's opinion or something like that, or a raving mad alcoholic or something like that at all. This is like top analysts, and when the top analysts are all syncing up with, even with, I don't know, alleged Loonbirds, things are getting pretty crazy. Then we're seeing the red wave kick in. We're seeing what the Democrats have done to the US. We have seen the prices of fuel. We have seen the prices of energy. We've seen their foreign policy kick in. And then we've seen them use up the strategic reserves of the US's oil, which is meant for if there was a large war, you might want to have oil. Yes, you can just go buy some more from the Saudis or something like that. But the price, to repurchase it at the moment is insane. So I'm pretty sure there was a previous leadership, and they basically filled up all the reserves for dirt cheap because the US was independent of energy. They were able to produce, I think they were a net exporter of energy at that point in time. But everyone didn't care about that because Orange Man bad. But geopolitically, it made a lot of sense, you know, to strategically place your chessboard if that's the way you're going to view the world. But now we see, for whatever reason, absolute chaos. We're seeing people, top experts, actively saying, do you remember when Texas had that massive blackout in the middle of a huge, I think it was a winter, like some sort of blizzard, and there was lots of snow and you couldn't really travel around easy, and I don't know if people died or not because, you know, there was no electricity. Imagine that across of all of a country in a time where maybe the global conflict you go into and mention that, but just imagine you run out of energy and there's blackouts, rolling blackouts, you know, and you haven't got a generator. That's going to kind of suck. And also, when yeah, you also might want to load up on maybe a pellet stove and pellet stove fuel, I guess naturally food, water, storable food, ways to clean your water, I don't know, things like that. You know, you might want to be prepared, not for Armageddon, but they have a training drill, and if you're ready for a zombie apocalypse and you can make it through a zombie apocalypse, then you might be okay. But yeah, so that is coming up. I'm not kidding. That's coming. Now, that's not going to affect me here in Australia because I'm going to be chilling. But I'm going to see all my shit going up. I've seen rates go up. I'm seeing inflation. I'm seeing food. Once the fuel energy crisis kicks in, the price of oil and gas is probably going to skyrocket. What else? Yeah. So that's going to be the flow-on effect, you know? And we will see then. I'm waiting to see how can Joe Biden possibly make it any worse? Yeah, we're gonna find out. Now, the chilling effect. The chilling effect, we have the Wikipedia definition. Again, be wary of Wikipedia. Everyone knows this, but you know, you're doing a report, university level and above, you're probably not going to be citing Wikipedia as your source. You might, but yeah, anyway. So I thought, well, it is good it has that. That's where I got my screenshot from. Literally typed in chilling effect, copy paste. So I thought I would go to one of these websites. It's the Lawyer's Juris, not sure. Yeah, don't know anything about this site. But the chilling effect in law. The chilling effect, legal definition, is in constitutional law the inhibition or discouragement of the legitimate exercise of a constitutional right, especially one protected by the First Amendment to the United States Constitution, by the potential or threatened prosecution under or application of a law or sanction. So if we see people getting sued, we see people being censored off of platforms, right? Now, the people that come to mind first for me are Alex Jones, Andrew Tate, Kanye West, who else? Dude called Sneeko. Again, I don't know any of these people in person. Apologize if the names are wrong. But when you follow them on social media, it's like it's kind of like you know them, you know, like from my perspective, looking outwards, when I follow even smaller guys in the Hexagon community, right? And you watch them all the time. It's almost like you get to know them, like that persona, that side of them that they present to the world, because they could be different outside of the camera, you know, who knows? So then you apply that on a large level. You have extremely large people, you know, like, so, okay, so you watch Joe Rogan, and you feel like you know them. You've never spoken to them, you've never had any direct contact with them, but you feel like you know them. So you think you kind of think you understand what they project, but you see it through your own lens. So people like that, I can resonate with, from what I've seen, but then I thought, if you analyze it and you see the other side of it. So when Obama was in power, leading up to it, everyone everywhere thought Obama's going to be the best, like he's going to make the world a better place. So that must have been the media messaging that was being copied and pasted everywhere. And so everyone thought like they knew Obama, they knew all about him. But then you look at what actually took place, and it was different to what was being projected. Like he won a Nobel Peace Prize, but yet there was large amounts of wars under him and bombings, etc., like through drones. So what I'm saying is, people then, if they understand and listen to their favorite mainstream media presenter, for example, and they tell them that these people are horrible people, they say that the only thing I can think of at the moment is that Bryson song, and it's got Alex Jones, Andrew Tate, Sneeko, Kanye West. If everyone tells you that they're such evil people, and you feel like you know the mainstream presenter talking to you because you've seen them talk to you for years and years, and you believe them, you've developed this relationship with them, so you can trust what they have to say, right? You kind of lose your ability to differentiate between bullshit and non-bullshit, especially if you don't absorb information from other sources. So when they tell you these people are awful and they need to be censored into oblivion, other people do believe that, and because they feel like they know them, they then go into this attack mode and attacking everyone else. It's just really crazy to see. But now we're seeing it all unfold. We're seeing the amnesty trying to be rolled out to everyone. Like, please forgive us all. Like, I'm sure we've all seen that article. Speaking of articles, on my stream, I usually read SPAs. And I actually should do that. Because more than ever, the people that were labeled conspiracy theorists were told, everyone told them that they're wrong. Well, I got news for you. I got news for the world. We're not wrong. Trust me. Okay, so where are we today? Chapter 8. Are you talking to me? Question mark. Chapter 8. This is SPAs. This is the playbook rolled out not sure if it's pre-virus, but yeah. It's designed in an era of 2025 to 2028. And so far it's been very, very accurate in projecting what could take place in a pandemic like this, Are you talking to me? Chapter 8. While government agencies were spreading the newly tooled public health messages about SPAs, Calicovir and Coronavax through a variety of traditional and social media outlets, several popular platforms were overlooked. A notable example was Uniqual, a social media interface used at the time almost exclusively by college students. Uniqual was designed and first used at the University of California, Berkeley in 2023. The initial purpose of the interface was to provide undergraduate college students with a common forum to collectively critique local, national, and international social and economic policies, such as anti-immigration laws and drug policies. By 2026, the interface still maintained a critical focus, but had expanded to include an underground news reporting system. Led by several primary reporters across the country, a satirical news feed that could be streamed as a caption on any program running on IAT, and special interest message boards accessible to anyone. While Unical was at the primary news source of many college students on the east and west coasts, its existence and particularly its prominence was largely unknown outside college communities and completely ignored by most public health agencies. The SPARS pandemic and concerns about the disease prompted a sizable response on Unical. While information shared about SPARS closely followed the information provided by the CDC, FDA, and other agencies, information about Calicovir was often incorrect. Multiple message board threads questioned in detail the accelerated clinical trial processes. Others examined alternative treatments for SPARS, including VMAX. And the second most popular reporter, Stanford GY, led discussions on and organized protests against how Calicovir was being administered, particularly focusing on how a lack of access to primary care could result in unequal access to the drug. By late May, opinion polls on Unical showed that 68% of the interface's 2 million users felt that equal access to medical care for SPARS was a serious issue. In an effort to galvanize political will around this issue, students began using Unical forums to organize and promote protests outside the offices of the state and local political leaders. So that was a quick one. Communication dilemma for this particular outlet. Overlooking communication platforms used by specific groups, quickly gaining fluency and efficiency, engaging the public using a new media platform. Responding to public criticism about potential unequal access to MCMs like Calicovir. Food for thought. This is crazy. Food for thought. What are the roles of a media literate staff and organizational capacity to communicate via both social and traditional media platforms critical to understanding and influencing public debates about MCM and Calicovir? 2. Why is it important to listen to the public during the emergency to find out why they think or want done about equity in access to an MCM like Calicovir? How might the public's desire for fairness in allocating Calicovir ultimately influence public health outcomes? 3. How could authorities at national and local levels craft an effective response to public criticism and concern about unequal access to Calicovir? How might the emergency communication principles of speaking honestly and openly and acknowledging the human dimension of the problem be applied in this instance? Crazy. We'll almost do chapter 9. I'll just do one chapter at a time though. Basically what's playing out, we can see in this particular textbook is instances and how they would deal with them. So when they talk about platforms, I guess, outside of the mainstream talking outlets, so whether that be government websites, whether that be mainstream news, whether that be internet searches, like the top ones that appear, we can see basically, I guess they perceive them as problems, whereby people's own thoughts and opinions are not being influenced the way they want it to be influenced, you know? So it's just crazy. Knowing that this is out there, but yet no one really promoted this anywhere. It's just insane. Absolutely insane. But yeah, so the chilling effect. Going back to the chilling effect. Now, when we all talked about, questioned particular events like, you know, lockdowns and things like that, people were, you know, arrested. They didn't have their mask on, they were arrested. There's little parts on Twitter, little videos, and you can see them being not complying with the mandates and being dealt the heavy hand of the law or security guard or whatever the case may be. And for some reason we're just supposed to forget, everyone's just supposed to forget that and not think about how when tyrannical orders are issued and they're followed, how the flow-on effect could be long-lasting. I can see cryptocurrency and things like that being a way to free yourself, so you're not tied and tethered to the traditional markets. You see, when I was driving around doing Uber, man, everyone is just so depressed. They look sad, they look down, they look flat, they look tired. You know, they worked. Their bills are going up, their mortgages are increasing, the food that they buy is more expensive. The price of fuel is going through the roof, and all they're going to be doing is working to pay their house off or whatever. And I remember you got to sign up to Andrew Tate's newsletter at a minimum. He puts through some pretty inspirational like words, and that sort of stuff, it can't be blocked by whatever systems are in place. Like, even if they're not on Twitter, they can still reach out to you through, say, a newsletter, and they can put the words in there. Like, words have power, have meaning behind them, you know, and that can help affect you. It can help change you. And I remember this one video. It just says, "Who's got rich? Who gets rich by saving?" You know, it makes sense. Like, yeah, and the I don't know, man. Just seeing crypto die and seeing big companies come in and play the game with it at the same time, pretty crazy. As a holder of Hex, as a disclosure, disclaimer, whatever, I just hope people aren't getting flooded out of their bags, and I hope they're not falling for all this insane, you know, market conditions. Mind you, it does make sense to, well, it doesn't make sense to panic, but if you just panic sold and put it all in stables and then, I don't know, put it into a bank and hope that somehow that's going to outperform in the next 3 to 5 years, good luck, you know, good luck. But everywhere I look, there's a lot there's a lot of doom and gloom here. There's a lot of doom and gloom coming. So like I said, just get prepared. If I learn anything new, I'll let you guys know. That's it for me. Signing out.